Hello, cats and kittens. I am Lex, and I am your crochet fiberist. We should totally, prepare to fiber or something. Wow. I'd like to just welcome you guys. Whether you're a subscriber or a regular listener, or my favorite, the lurkers. I've been a lurker on the internet since the early 90s. I'm so old. Anyway, this is a crochet dominant podcast, hence the crochet, but we definitely talk about fiber here. So I just want to take a moment to let you know what's going on. We've got news, we've got our standard operating sections, kitting it out. We do have some Unhooked. And if you guys have been on Instagram and you follow me there, I should tell you where to find me. Okay. You can find me as Lexicon on Ravelry. Please friend me. I had somebody friend me a couple days ago on Ravelry, and I don't think I've ever met her, but it doesn't matter because she's part of the fiber journey. So, seriously, friend me. I'm not as active as I used to be on Ravelry. I'm going to change that. I have to reschedule my life, it seems, every couple of months or every couple of jobs, it seems. So I will try to carve out some more time to be a little more accessible via Ravelry. But anyway, you can find me on Ravelry as Lexicon, Lexicom. You can find me on Instagram as Lexicon with a 3 instead of NE, because I am elite. And is that everywhere? Oh, we have a group on Ravelry. It is called The Crochet Fiberist with the S in parens. Please join us. I normally pose a question when I plop the show notes into the group. And I've been starting to get some people talking. I kind of want to have a space where we can really delve deep and get to know each other and, kind of see each other's fiber stories. I normally don't talk about the question I'm going to ask in the show, so you'd have to go to Ravelry and check the show notes to see the things I'm asking. And one of these weeks, it won't be very long, I am going to pick somebody from those, from the responders, and just give them a, hey, you rock gift. I think at the end of this month, I will be doing, a drawing for that. So stay tuned and keep commenting. All right, let's see. Let's talk about, is there any news? Stitches West is coming. Super excited about that. I don't know how many of you are Californians, so I don't know how many of you would run up to me, but I will be there probably Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you see me, I will probably be wearing something crocheted. Possibly one of the items you'll see today. And yeah, just come say hi, because I like meeting people. And I like meeting fellow crochet fiberists. So there's that. 25,000 toques. That is the pronunciation. I was listening to the Knitmore Girls, and that sounds like that's the official pronunciation. I should have known that, but I didn't. Oh well. So I'm going to make sure this time to link not only to the 25,000 toques website, but also the Facebook group that the Knitmores and another podcaster has set up. And on my end, I've worked 2 hats so far. I think I've shown you both. I showed you both last week. And I'm intending to do as many as I can stand, which should be a lot considering it's for a good cause. But I really encourage you as a crocheter to please send your stuff in. A lot of times we aren't as well represented in charities like this because, you know, there are lots of reasons why that's the case. I think as a community of people who love to make beautiful things, and on occasion share those beautiful things with others, we should, work together and make some hats. I think next episode we might have a hat episode, and I will be going through Rav and talking about some really interesting crochet hats. So that is that. I think that's all of my news. Also, undiscovered stitches, or rediscovered stitches, sorry. After this episode, right after I filmed this, I'm at filming that. So you should see that in the next couple of days, or tonight. So let's get started. I have something unhooked, and I'm super excited. If you follow me on Ravelry, around 11-ish today, I finally posted this, and it doesn't have a name yet, but I'm super, super thrilled. This is my first cardigan of the year. Now, it hasn't been washed or blocked. I'll show it again once both of those things have happened, but here's what it looks like from the back, and I think it's a little easier to see. This is a sweater that I designed because I wanted to explore some stitches. As you can see, this is, I talked about this a couple weeks ago, the herringbone stitch. So I was really fascinated by the herringbone stitch and decided to make a sweater that used the ideas of the featherweight cardigan. That is a very, very popular knitted cardigan by Hannah Fettig, I believe. Yes. So I decided to do one it's a heavier weight. This yarn is bison merino, and it's about 400 yards, 100 grams. And it definitely feels like a heavier weight yarn. And this charming, delicious yarn in the shape of the wedge stitch, which we will talk about soon, is alpaca that I picked up at the yarn shop FashionKnit. I think this is their personal alpaca. I don't know where they get the yarn. I should have asked if it came from alpacas in the vicinity or just something they customized. No. They commissioned. So I really, really like this. I added the color. I really love this blue. I picked up this yarn, and this yarn is from a yarn company called Lydia. Luxury Yarn Dyed in America. That's what it stands for. It's an Etsy shop. I believe I mentioned the yarn owner and put her link in one of my episodes. I will hunt that down and do it again. She had, I was on Etsy during the holidays, saw this color, saw that it was bison merino, which is something I really love working with, and had to have it. Got 4 skeins. I used about 3 3/5. So I have about 40% of a skein left. And part of the reason I had so much is because I changed colors. I knew I was going to change colors on this sweater, but I didn't know what yarn to use. And I think if I was going to do this again, I am. I would definitely choose something that has a better stitch definition, because as beautiful and as soft as this alpaca is, and maybe you can see the definition here, it would look even better in a springy merino sock. I think that would look incredible. But it's interesting. It's kind of scratchy on my leg right now. But what I know about bison is that it gets softer as you wash it and manipulate it. And the alpaca is just delicious. It kind of reminds me of Prime Alpaca from Henry's Addict or Gaylor Yarns. I don't know if they're the same thing or they're related or not, but that really yummy, squishy, delicious kind of alpaca, that's definitely what this is. And I used about 180 yards of this yarn, of the alpaca. So this is I was really proud of myself. It was a really decent success. The proof will be in the blocking though. So stay tuned. Next week it'll be washed and blocked, and I will give it a test drive and let you know how it turns out. It may grow up to be a pattern. If not, it will definitely be a teaching aid. So that is what I finished. What am I calling this? My Woolyweight cardigan? Yeah, it's squishy and beautiful. Okay, so that is the only item I had for Unhooked. I'm glad I actually finished this sweater at around 12:30 last night. So if I hadn't have done that, we wouldn't have had anything to talk about in that segment. So let's move on. I've been remarkably kind of obsessed with that project, so I've only gotten a little bit done on the Tunisian hat shawl. Here we go. Heck, maybe I've done 2 or 3 rows. I need to put a stitch marker project keeper on this project so I can see it grow, because it's really hard to tell. But yeah, this is coming along. This is going to be a half-hap Tunisian shawl. The yarn is Dream in Color Jilly with Cashmere, and I think it's called something jeans, like blue jeans or something like that. And this was the Dream in Color color this month for January, and it is squishy. I like it. I like a good singles, and I think this is going to look really, really good. So that's what I've been working on. The other thing I've been kind of obsessed with is Almost Done. And May, I don't know if I want to say this because it kind of binds me to that decision, and I'm not sure if I want to be bound to it right now. I think I'm going to table that. We'll talk about that when I'm finished with this project. I'm almost done with this. And I know my rule was, I don't want to have any hooks in my work when I show you them, but it didn't work out. So this is a shawl that I've been thinking about for a long time. I've made 3 or 4 different iterations of this shawl, and I called it Concrete. But I think what I'm thinking of a different name for it. It is, as you can see, it is my Tunisian weave stitch. So it is it's a very stretchy, long, dramatic kind of shawl. I wanted something that was very, very warm and kind of something you can wrap around yourself and it be cozy. I've been finding that I've been working with a lot of lace, or not lace, but certainly finer yarns than I'm used to. And my hands are not exactly rebelling, but they definitely are having an attitude about this. So to give my hands a break, I'm working this up, and this is in some really scrumptious yarn. Let's see if I can grab it. This, boys and girls, is a yarn called Brigadoon. Brigadoon is 100% cashmere, 50 grams, 190 yards, and this is from Jade Sapphire. The color is it Bonnie Jean, and this is supposedly a machine washable cashmere. Right. We'll see. I'm not going to test that theory, but it's very nice to know that this is probably easier care. It's good to know because when I start making big projects for family members, that might be or like a hat or something, a really nice project. I could get a hat out of one skein of this. So it'd be fantastic. I really like this piece. It's going. The only thing I've never really liked about this piece is I never really edge it, and this would look killer edged. So, because I don't think the blocking might work. I'll have to do some research because I know if I add an edge, I'm going to retard the stretchiness. So I've got to go back and think about that for a while. But This is I'm on my third skein. I thought I was going to be able to get this done on my second skein, and it just didn't work out. And the idea is, this is just an idea I had. You start with 3 stitches, you increase every row to a certain state, and then you work straight for an X amount of rows, and then you decrease on the other edge, creating kind of a parallelogram. And then you turn and you pick up on the edge of that parallelogram until you hit where the increases or the decreases start, and then you build sideways. So maybe one day I'll talk about how that's done. Maybe I'll do a video on that one day. But suffice to say, I've done a couple versions of this shawl, and they're wonderful, and they wrap around your neck, and they function so well as a scarfy, shawly kind of hybrid. So I really, really like this. And I should be done by next episode. This was this is supposed to be my Stitches West piece. I think I mentioned it. If you guys, I think I mentioned this in the show notes last week. This is what I was working on. So since I'm almost done with it, I have to start something else for stitches. But luckily, I think I have some ideas for that. All right, and one more thing. As true to my promise, this is not going to be a, look at all the stuff I bought. But it will be a, I bought this stuff and I'm using this for a swatch. So I'm currently doing a swatch. It's a very tiny swatch. I should do more of a swatch because I finally have enough of this yarn. Well, I made sure to get enough of this yarn so swatching wouldn't be an issue. So isn't that a lovely, lovely color? The color's called Royale, and it's super, super blue. This is, I believe, Sport. And you gotta get, this is, I'm swatching for, I'm just testing a couple of different stitch patterns to see how they will work out. So far, this has just been Tunisian weave knit stitch. And this row has been Tunisian twisted stitch. Tunisian weave twisted stitch. And the yarn is pretty spectacular. This is a yarn called Lily. It's a MYS, a merino yak silk. 60, 20, 20, amazing, right? And 8 ounces is 540 yards. I've got several skeins of this for a sweater. I think it is going to be delectable, good enough to eat. Very excited about this piece and this yarn. It's not in a bag, and here's why. Here are the other skeins, or the other balls, because I had them all balled up. Let me put that away, because I have them all balled up. You are too. Here's a bag. These are Zika bags that I bought for my Zika, which is kind of like a it's kind of like a travel. It's like a travel bag for your fiber stuff. Anyway, so these are the other 2 skeins, and that is why the third skein doesn't have a home at the moment. There's just no room. I'm gonna have to dig into my stash because I'm trying to cut back on purchasing things, so that all 3 skeins fit in one spot, so all my kits fit in one place. So that is the stuff that is on Kitting It Out. I think we should move on to our next segment, which is the bucket list project. So last time we talked about the bucket list project, I mentioned, sweaters, finding a fit that works for you, going through the entire process of selecting for a appropriate yarn. Not really. We haven't actually talked about that. That's what we're going to talk about today. Yesterday, or last time we talked, I talked about, getting myself sized, and I got that taken care of. I'm not going to show you my numbers. This is not that kind of episode, don't worry. But I think we found a way, we got really accurate measurements, and taking a snapshot of what my body looks like right now, because it's really easy to say, oh, I'm normally like this, and then you don't think about the reasons, and then you don't really think about the other things because you kind of lied to yourself at your measurements. So yeah, if you haven't done that already, get with a friend of indeterminate sex. That doesn't sound right. Get with a friend of either sex, and or a significant other, or somebody you're really, really close to who you don't mind seeing your measurements, and measure as many parts of you as makes sense. What do I mean by that? I wear a certain size. I'm a petite size, for one thing, because I am of rather short stature. And I'm also have body shape issues. Like, I have a torso that looks one way, and it's not a standard torso. So it's not enough to say, oh, my bust is this and my waist is this. The questions I also need to consider are, how far is it from my bust to my high hip? And do I want to make a tunic? And what do those numbers look like? And so that's why I say take the measurements that make sense for your project and for your body. We talked about the project I'm going to be using. And for a while, what I was going to do was just get the pattern. Let me grab it. I was going to just take the pattern and work as is. I have since found that is never a good idea. It just doesn't make sense, because you don't fit. You probably, unless you're the designer, you probably don't fit what the designer has in mind. A lot of times either they have themselves in mind, or if there's somebody who publishes commercially, they have a typical sized person in mind. And unless you are incredibly typical in your size, it's not going to adjust for you specifically. But it's not just a body thing. It's also I have this yarn. I don't really want to go out and buy new yarn to accommodate this particular pattern. Can I fudge the numbers? Can I play with the numbers and make sure those numbers work with the yarn I'm working with? Can I incorporate different aesthetics can I incorporate different looks? Can I use a different fiber than the designer used? Those are things you have to think about. So I'm going to go to my library on Ravelry. Ravelry is amazing, and if you're not a Ravelrer for whatever reason, I know there are a lot of reasons, but if you're not, you should really, really consider it. The crochet patterns alone. There are a lot of free patterns, and there are a lot of really, really good patterns that are available to you on Ravelry, and it's just amazing. It really is. Anyway, so here I am. Crud. Back. So here is the pattern I'm going to do. It is a pay-for pattern. It is called My Favorite Pullover, and it is by Katie Peterson. And as you can see, it has kind of a mock turtleneck, and it has really long sleeves, and you can't tell, but it hits right at a really good spot for me. Here's some things I'm thinking of, though. The yarn that's being used is let's talk about the materials. We're using worsted weight in her pattern. And the sample was done in Lion Brand Heartland. And I went on Ravelry, and it looked like most of the people who did this pattern also did it in Lion Brand or something like that. I'm going to need an eye hook. There's that stuff. And then my gauge is X amount equals a 4-inch square. Okay? So I have that idea going on. And let's see. It looks like I need, for my personal size, about 1,000 yards. So, what am I going to do? Now, the first thing it said was it's a worsted weight. I've looked in my stash. I've done some research. I don't want to buy any more new yarn at the moment, at least not for this project. I want to have good yarn, don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily want to go out and buy another yarn, sweater's weight of yarn. I'm just not at that place right now. However, I have a couple of options. So let me grab them. I think one of them I didn't bring with me, but I'll talk to you about it. Well, actually, you know what? I won't tell you what I chose. I'll just show you some of the options that I considered. So, here is an option. Here's option number 1. This yarn is a DK weight, so it's not as big. Wait, is this DK? Okay, sorry. The lily that I was talking about, first of all, is DK. This is Sport. This is Rothko. It is a Polworth silk blend. It's 720 yards for 8 ounces. I have 2 skeins of it. So I thought this would definitely I would have enough yarn to compensate for the fact that this is not worsted, which is a thicker yarn. And it's a fantastic color. The color is called Ink. It's reading dark blue on my camera. It is actually more of a purple. And it would look fantastic in the pattern, which incidentally is a lot like the sweater. That pattern is a half, what is it called? A herringbone half double. It's this stitch. So it's going to look really, it would look amazing in this stitch, I think. And I could do it all single color, which is the way I would do the sweater. What I didn't, and what else is positive? Great stitch definition, lots of yardage. I could, because I'm using a smaller hook, I would definitely be using a smaller hook to get gauge. I could also add my increases and decreases and my shaping, and it wouldn't look so obvious in a sport weight as opposed to a worsted weight, because the worsted weight's bigger and you can see all of my decreases and increases. Now there are ways to deal with that, but that's a generalization. So this was good for a lot of things. The reason I didn't go with it is because I'm really saving this for something special. When we get to Spinmeister, well, is it Spinmeister? There might be a section for blather and stuff, and I'll talk a little bit about this and why I'm not going to use this for that. So this is one option. Is there another option? Did I bring the other option over here? Not that option. Okay. My second option was this. I thought I wanted to see the patterning really well. I figured it needed to be finer than worsted, and I wanted something that was wearable, more wearable. That particular, I love this sweater, but the way, and it's shaped very nicely, but the colors and the aesthetic that's going on there would not be wearable for me in my life. So I chose this yarn. You know what? Sorry, guys. This is a kind of extemporaneous podcast. So this is Fino, and this is Manos de Uruguay. And it is, isn't that lovely? It's a it's blue green. It is absolutely stunning. And it is a singles. It is 30% silk, 70% extra fine merino, and the color is called Peacock Plume, and it is 490 yards per 100 grams. So a little finer than sock weight. And you're going to get excellent drape with this. You're going to get amazing stitch definition. It's not going to be like a 3D kind of stitch definition that like a 3-ply would give you, but you're definitely going to see these stitches pretty beautifully. There are so many positives about this, and had I not chosen the other way, I would definitely go with this. But the one thing I would have to think about with this yarn is that I would probably have to have a carry-along yarn. So a finer mohair blend, for example, something with a little more oomph to add to a singles. Like for a sweater, do I have any singles made out of sweater? Or sweaters made out of singles? I think I have some, but it's not as sturdy. I don't know if that makes sense. And thus, it's not something that I would have gone for under normal circumstances. This color is fantastic, though. And it is still going to be a cardigan. It's just going to be a cardigan that is worked with another yarn. So there's that. So that didn't work. That didn't work. I will show you next week what I chose. And it's a very hardy, really pretty yarn. It's got some, it's definitely what I would consider a luxury yarn, or definitely, yeah, it's luxury to me. And it's absolutely beautiful. And I think it will definitely do this particular pattern justice. So that is all I have for the bucket list. I am going to start a thread on the Ravelry group talking about the making of your own personal perfect sweater, where we can discuss different aspects. So this week, I didn't put one out last week, but this week we'll definitely be talking about fiber content and the kinds of aesthetics that you're expecting from your sweater and how you plan to make that happen. Okay, we are at 33 minutes. I need to zoom. All right, we are now at Wearable Art. I'm wearing my format tunic. I love this thing. It's great. What more can I say about that? I also, over the week, including one of the days when the power went out, I'm not going to get into that, but that was not planned. This is a piece, this is a journey wrap. This is one of my journey wraps. So I was wearing this. These are great to scrunch up over your neck. They function, it functions in a lot of different ways. And I think I've talked about it. I think you guys saw this when I was first starting my podcast. But these are great for extra layer of warmth. And this one has mohair and alpaca and silk and cashmere and camel, and it's a glorious blend of excellence, I think, in my humble opinion. So I wore that. Today totally didn't match anything I was wearing. I don't care though. I wore this. You know it. It is the Andromeda Shawl. I hardly go a week without wearing it, and I ended up wearing it this weekend and ran into some fantastic knitters who took one look at this and said, "You're going to have to look over my shoulder when I crochet. I won't tell you who it was, but it was a friend of mine, and I was really shocked because she never gave an indication that she was interested in crochet, and she's like, oh no, you know, it's just not something I know a whole lot about. So yeah, this, I think the yarn did it for everybody who's seen this has like oohed and awed the yarn, and you know what it is. This is Oberon from Violet Links, and she has an Etsy page. You should totally go there. She doesn't sponsor me. I'm just an extremely happy customer. I still have a bunch of it left. A bunch is not accurate. I have maybe 20-30 grams left, so I think I see arm warmers, Andromeda arm warmers in my future. They would be totally boss. So yeah, wore this. Wore Geometry Subverted. Love, love, love this piece. Going through my current stash to see if I have a couple weeks ago I showed you I was working on a version of it. I'm not happy with that version, so I'm going to look for another version. But yeah, this is a great piece, just fantastic. Let's see. And I think this might be the last one. My, what are we calling this? The Chunky Popover? I wore this on Saturday as a layer over like a regular t-shirt. Sorry, that's the wrong way. And I love this one. It's super, super warm. It's made of alpaca. It's an alpaca chainette, and it is just, it's great. You slip it over, you will be warm. No, seriously, you will be warm. And I love, love, love the cables on this. So yeah, that's what I was wearing this week. And Wearable Art. Okay. Spinmeister. Oh, I don't have anything to show you this week. I haven't had a chance to hit either of my wheels, or any of my wheels is probably a better way of putting it. But I made a trip to my favorite Yarniac, one of my favorite LYSs. And I think this is going to kind of transition into blather and the bits of my life that you guys will get to hear about. So I was down in, I was down at Pearlescence, dropping off some hats. Actually, only one of them got dropped off. The other one still needs ends woven in. But I dropped off a hat, and then I sat and talked with the proprietresses. Anyway, if you go to Stitches West and you look for the Pearlescence booth, you will see the ladies who are in charge, and they are fantastic ladies, and they are so knowledgeable, and they are so sweet, and they are the cause. Like, I can't imagine not having these ladies in my fiber life. They are just super knowledgeable. They have like the most beautifully curated yarn store, and they have tools up the wazoo, including a teasing tool that I might be getting my hands on sometime next week. We'll see. Anyway, I've purchased a couple of wheels from them, at least 3 over the course of 4 years. And when I went last weekend, I sat with them for a while, and one of the things I haven't done in ages is just sat on a different wheel and spun. And I got in my head that because I love the woolly winder on my on Pennyworth, my Ashford Electric, I figured my next wheel needed to be something that I could get a woolly winder on. So that meant a lot of the experimental wheels that I'm really into and really fascinated by, it can only have 1 or 2 of those in the house, because the rest of the wheels I want to start bringing into my life need to be woolly winder compliant. I just love a woolly winder. What can I say? So I was there with that exact intention. And so there are a lot of options for wheels, and I was weird because my first wheel was not a standard wheel, and it took a long time for me to learn how to spin, and I learned really well but it took me a very, very long time. And I think part of the reasons was it wasn't a standard wheel. It's a good wheel, and I love it. And Grayson is never leaving my home, I don't think. He's a fantastic travel wheel. But I think I need to have a standard at-home wheel that isn't necessarily electric. So, with that said, I spent a couple of hours at the yarn shop and managed to try a couple of different wheels. And I found that, yes, I still have it. I spin pretty decently, and I can spin fine, and I can spin consistent. But I found that certain wheels worked for me and certain wheels didn't. The other criteria was I had to have a small footprint. I don't have a lot of room in my apartment, and we're not, unless I come into a great deal of money, that's not changing anytime soon. So that kind of narrows things down, but I didn't want another travel wheel. The Sidekick, while a lovely wheel and good for a lot of things, just wouldn't work for me. I tried the Ashford Joy, and I just didn't like it. It was easy it took a little while to get used to. I could spin decently on it. It just wasn't going to work. So I then asked to try the Ashford Traditional. Now, I've been looking at one of these for a while, and I believe it's a castle wheel. And I've always kind of looked at it and kind of cocked my head to the side and said, that's a really interesting wheel. And I've seen people spin on them, and they do divine things. And I spun on it, and it was like we had a mind meld, me and this wheel. Totally a kindred spirit. And so, after thinking about it and talking it over, I decided that that's probably going to be my next wheel. But wait, there's more. First of all, I have all of my wheels, I believe, are a Scotch tension. I think I have something that might be Irish tension. I don't have a bobbin lead. And the other thing I don't have is a double drive. And I really wanted a double drive. So when I purchase this wheel, it's going to be a double drive version. So it's kind of a little pricier than I anticipated, but not really. I could see an Ashford being a great starter wheel. But if you really want that discussion about starter wheels, the person you need to go talk to is Dr. Gemma. She has a ton of knowledge. She's restored several wheels, including a wheel that she gave me for my wedding, and it's a fantastic little wheel. But here's what I know. I know I wanted to try the double drive. It's compact, it's easy to carry, but it's not like something you take apart. As long as I'm not going on a plane, that is definitely an option. For when I'm on a plane, either of the other wheels would suffice for me. And yeah. So there's that. So I think we've made the decision that that's going to be the wheel, but that's not where I stopped. I decided if I was going to get an excellent wheel, it was going to be an excellent wheel. So I talked to another of the one of the other ladies who owns this fantastic store, about, what is it? Not polish. It's not called polish. Finishing. So the Ashford tends to come unfinished. You can get it finished. You can have Ashford finish it. Or at this store, you can get it finished. And so after talking with one of the ladies for a little bit, I decided that I needed it finished. And if I was going to have it finished, it was going to be an exceptionally beautiful kind of finish. So I decided that it would be finished in an oceanic blue. And it's like this delicious, midnighty, deep, oceany, oh my gosh, blue that would just knock your socks off. That's what I want for this wheel. My other wheels are not dyed, or not finished. Well, my Ashford electric is finished. My Grayson, so Pennyworth is finished. Grayson is not, but it's plywood, so it doesn't make sense really. And the other wheels, the Roberta is already finished. And Damien the Vespera is a really, really nice wood, so I don't want to finish it. So yeah, so I'm really, really excited at this, and I'm thinking of making the payments in such a way that I get it around my birthday. It's not a huge investment, but it's definitely an investment, but I think it's an investment that will pay off in the long run. So I'm very, very excited. And the best part is I get a lesson because I purchased with them. I've been offered lessons over the years from them, and I'd like to take them. So I want to, and what I want to learn from them is how to best utilize my woolly winder. So, and how to use double drive. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. So that was my bleh, my my excitement for this new wheel. Once I get it, I will tell you all about it. She already has a name, and in a stunning break with tradition, she is not named after the Bat family. She's named after my very favorite character in all of literature. And yeah, she's going to be excellent. And I will tell you her name. Tell you what, no, we're not going to do that. I will let you know when we get her. So that is something definitely to look forward to. On that note, I know I had other things to talk about today, but I rambled like you would not believe, and I don't anticipate anybody watching this far in. So I'm going to table the other things I was planning to talk about, and move them to the next episode. However, rediscovered stitches will probably start in about maybe 15 minutes, maybe an hour. So I'm going to post this one, get it out there, and then post the next one. So on that note, happy fibering, and I will talk to you guys sometime next week. Bye.